All right, folks, this is part 2 of our show on recycling. So if you haven't heard part 1 yet, stop what you're doing and click into part 1, then come back here, okay? All right, on with the show.
I'm Manny.
I'm Noah.
This is Devin.
And this is No Such Thing, the show where we settle our dumb arguments and yours by actually doing the research. Previously on No Such Thing, is recycling a scam? We heard from Davis Allen from the Center for Climate Integrity, who walked us through the history of plastic recycling and told us why research shows recycling just isn't worth the investment when you look at the environmental costs involved and the low percentage of plastic that actually gets recycled.
The recycling thing is a distraction. It's not anything to do with the actual problem.
Time jump, it's now a few weeks later. We were pretty shocked by what Davis told us, but us here at NST HQ thought we had to hear from the pro recycling side. So Devin and I went to a recycling center here in Brooklyn to see what's happening to my Coke bottles.
There's no such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing.
So Devin and I went on a field trip to investigate recycling further.
I was jealous of this one. I wish I could have joined.
Well, now it'll be like you joined us.
Okay.
My name is Kara Napolitano. I am the Education Director for Circular Services out at the Sunset Park Materials Recovery Facility. We receive all the metal, glass, plastic, and carton recycling from all of the homes and all of the public schools and almost all of New York City right here. And it's our job at this facility to sort through those materials. Then we compress them into bales, like that little robot Wally from that movie. And then we sell the bales to companies that use the products. They prepare them to become new products and use them again.
Basically, we went through like what the little kids get on the tour first, which was actually very helpful.
Yeah.
And then we saw the real thing.
So we are a MRF. We're a materials recovery facility, which is a sorting facility for recyclables. We're a pretty fancy MRF. We are considered state-of-the-art.
Just a quick note here, this MRF is in Brooklyn, so we're following New York rules and processes as far as recycling goes. This stuff varies county by county across the country, so for specifics, you should look up your own area to find out how recycling is happening, because it will in all likelihood be at least a little bit different than here in New York. Materials arrive from all across the city on a barge or a truck. This center handles metal, plastic, glass, and cartons. Paper is supposed to go elsewhere. All this trash is placed in a big pot, or all this is
Don't call it trash, bro.
Refuse, perhaps, is placed in a big. All this material, is placed in a big pile, then pushed into the actual sorting process. Glass is smashed up into small pieces so it can filter out away from the plastic and metal.
Okay.
Magnets grab the metal, and non-magnetic metals are sorted with eddy currents. Then optical sorters send out near-infrared beams. They can read what the other items are made out of, so it shoots a laser essentially at a piece of plastic and says, okay, this is this type of plastic, send it over here. This is this, send it over there.
Wow.
Once it knows which one it is, then different air beams shoot them in the right direction.
What?
It's an incredibly complex system. It's amazing. Yeah, so all of this is basically happening. Big pile, then they push into these chutes that then these different sorting things happen. So there's like grinders that are breaking up the glass, so that gets it out of there. Then the magnets take the metal away.
Yeah. Pull it
Then-
out.
and the idea is that the grinder is only going to break glass because of the way glass is.
Yeah.
built.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
It's not doing anything
so it breaks
to the
into
other
small
stuff.
pieces. That gets rid of that.
Okay, it's a filtering.
Exactly. So it's filtering step by step for different types. Yeah, then these laser beams are going, okay, that's a number 3. We're going to send the air to shoot it over this direction.
Okay.
It's kind of, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And we're going to put video of this on our newsletter. So a lot of this is automated.
Human interaction is fairly light at our facility. It's just at the end of the process, whereas some smaller facilities might use humans more so in the process.
Kara even said they have some AI robotics in use. And then there's a few people you can see in the different parts of the facility to kind of check up on stuff. So once everything's sorted, then they bale it up.
Then we have our Wally moment. We make our bales. So you see all the sorted recyclables. They dump into a bunker. When the bunker is full, it feeds into the baler. The baler compresses the recyclables from all sides, and they pop out in a nice bale that's held together with steel cabling. And that is what we sell. So MRFs, material recovery facilities, they sort and they bale and sell the bales.
And sell it to whoever's looking for said material to reuse. It's not like directly to like a Coca-Cola or Nestle. It's like a intermediary company.
I see.
Who kind of gets in there and deals with that.
Okay.
And the company will break the material down further to so that it's
So
Actually
they can
usable.
present it to
Yeah, because
Pepsi
right now they're
or
just
whoever.
getting a big bale and it's just like you just took all this stuff and clumped it
here are
together.
milk cartons, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So just piles and piles of
Yeah.
that. Something I didn't know is that soft plastics, like plastic bags, cannot be recycled.
soft plastics, like plastic, like a grocery bag.
Yeah.
Yep, grocery bag or just
Wow.
like, you know, shrink wrap on a thing.
Nope.
Like don't put that in your
I guess is that
recycling
why
bin.
like New York had banned
Yeah.
the plastic
which
grocery
makes
bags?
sense of course when I hear it like this, but I just assumed
Yeah.
I don't need this bag. I'm
There's
putting it
still
in
plastic.
recycle.
Like I just
Yeah.
thought, I don't know.
So and we
still-
could see on the thing like it would get basically because like so many of these things are rollers or whatever. The soft plastic would just then wrap around
Yeah, it gets
the
tangled.
Mm.
beam.
So is the only reason that plastic can't be recycled because their machine would get fucked up? They can't have a different machine to.
That's one piece, but I don't think
Okay.
that's the main reason. I think it's mainly like it's
not
so
really good
soft that it's like
material, yeah.
you can't really break it down and
I see,
reuse
okay.
it.
Plastic only degrades the more you
Yeah.
recycle it once you get to that point.
One more quick note on the plastic bag, soft plastic thing. Again, this varies based on where you are, but here in New York, while bags shouldn't be put in household recycling, you can recycle plastic bags and other film plastics by bringing them to large stores or certain chain stores in the city. So check out what's going on in your area to find out what to do with those things in particular. Devin, what were your biggest takeaways from seeing the process?
I was shocked by how high tech it was.
Yeah.
It sounds really
The
futuristic.
lasers and the magnets really.
The air blowing at specific items
Mm-hmm.
to push them in specific directions on the conveyor. It looked like some shit out of like Futurama. Or
Yeah.
something.
Well, also just and the scale of it. Describe this pile. It was massive.
It was huge.
I mean,
This is buildings, stories.
We're in like a
We're-
huge
we're
warehouse,
huge,
essentially.
Giant warehouse.
a barge is coming in. Barges aren't small.
No.
You ever seen a barge?
I've seen a few.
They're pretty
barges in my
large and they're carrying a
lifetime.
lot of stuff on there. Trucks,
Barge.
not small either,
Notoriously
famously.
big boat.
Yeah.
And
And,
it's
they look
bringing
tiny
in-
compared to this pile.
Yep.
It's bringing in recycled things that people
Yeah.
thought you could recycle.
Yes.
And this is
exactly.
the thing that she emphasized too, is that please only put recycling in the recycling bin. Because when
Don't-
they get
yeah.
garbage, then they gotta sort that out and then send it
Yep.
to get thrown
And it goes
in
elsewhere.
the garbage. So it's just making the garbage take a longer route. It's more money.
They
worse
need to
the
pay for that.
environment
Yeah.
to end up in a place where it should have just gone initially. Yeah, so it was much more high tech than I thought. Because
Yeah.
part of me was like, this is what my frustration with the recycling process was when I was just doing it at home. I was like, how do they know which material goes where if I'm putting all these different type of plastics into one
Yeah.
place?
Right.
Like who's
Yeah.
sorting it? Is there a guy
Right.
who's just down there like, oh, this is like a milk carton, I'm putting it over here. And it's like, no, that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by how many, at least in New York, you can kind of recycle almost any hard plastic.
Hard plastics.
Any hard plastic. So like we said, plastic bags, no. But any like food containers, anything that is
Yeah.
hard can be recycled. So she was showing us like, they have the prices for the types of materials and
And it changes every day. It's like, the market. The markets.
you know the markets.
Of course.
You wake up every day and you check
They're
what's hard
volatile.
plastic costs
Yeah.
right now.
But it was pretty incredible to see that, okay, me putting the stuff into my little plastic bin at home does actually make it somewhere where they are sorting it and then sending it out for reuse elsewhere.
So when I'm at home
Yep.
separating my recyclables,
Yep.
I separate paper and cardboard away from
That's good.
plastic.
That's a good thing.
That's good because they don't do paper here. That's
but
going
they
somewhere
do
else.
collect it.
Yeah, that goes to a different
But they
place.
just take
They
it's
don't sort that,
rerouted to
That's
another
recycled,
place.
but not here. Not at the MRF.
So it is actually helpful that I'm not putting everything I think I can recycle into one bag.
No,
yeah,
that's
so you
bad.
can put these things. So you can put metal, plastic,
Yes.
and I guess glass
Yes.
in here in one
In
bag.
one thing. And then
Yeah, as long as
paper-
your super will allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to figure
that's
this
a
out.
separate
I'm
issue.
sending him this episode
Yeah.
100%.
But that can all be in one. Paper should be separate.
Paper and cardboard needs to be separated.
Yeah, because it might
It's a
go
different
here, but they're
plans.
gonna have to just send it out. You're wasting money, taxpayer dollars.
You know, talking about apartment bill, it drives me crazy now. I go downstairs, they just got recycling bins, and people putting everything in there. There's
Yeah.
paper,
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
there's plastic, there's metal, there's glass, all in the same bin. So now I'm thinking about, my God, this is ending up at that
It's
place,
going-
and
yeah.
it's just half of this is probably just going in the trash.
That's really crazy.
You
So they
gotta-
should have
yeah.
a bin downstairs at your apartment that's
And
like,
it's-
here's these.
And
then
they
here's
and
these.
this is, if you go and you walk around, look around, you'll see people. There are people doing this right.
So in New York City, we have our 2 OG recycling bins. We have what we call the blue bin, where you can recycle 4 materials. Anything that is mostly metal, from a tiny bottle cap to a large refrigerator and everything in between, but not batteries and electronics. Then glass, bottles, and jars only. If it's glass, it must be called bottle or jar. Otherwise, it is not recyclable, unfortunately. Then cartons is the third material. Cartons go in the blue. I know it's a cardboard box. It's coated in plastic, so we don't want it in the paper bin. Cartons go in the blue bin. And then rigid plastic. So in New York City, put all rigid, all hard plastic in the blue bin. No soft plastic bags, pouches, or wrappers. All hard plastic of all shapes and sizes. Then in what we call the green bin, that's for paper and cardboard. All paper, any paper, if you can rip it, you can recycle it. And all cardboard, including greasy pizza boxes. You may absolutely put greasy pizza boxes in the recycling bin with the paper cardboard. Just don't leave any pizza in the box.
So when you put out your
Materials.
and you got your the guys who are taking it and putting it into the truck,
Yeah.
there's sections.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the paper and plastic, they have a section for that, and
Yep.
the metals, glass, and materials, they have a section for that.
So they're pulling out the bags from my blue bin, but they're taking a quick look at it because the bag is transparent.
Yeah.
This is going over here. This is
Yeah.
going over there.
Yeah.
Now that we have you were supposed to have standardized trash bins and recycling bins, that's supposed to make that process easier, so they know, okay, this
Yeah.
green
So they
bin
don't have to look at
has
it. They could just
yeah,
put
exactly
it where it needs to be.
But as long as it's in a clear bag, I
Yeah.
think that's fine.
They should be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
Time for a quick break. When we're back, we hear from Kara about why those recycling rate numbers from part 1 are so low.
All right, fellas, I need you to help me with a problem that I got. You know, usually we're the ones helping other people with their problems, but I'm about to go abroad and I want to watch Met games. Noah, how can I watch them?
That's a tough one. Maybe get a really large telescope.
I don't think that's the best way to do it. Manny, do you have any solutions on how I can watch Mets games abroad?
I think I've got a slightly more practical solution for you, Devin. If you use NordVPN, you'll be able to change the location of your laptop's IP address and watch the content with no problem.
What about my privacy online? I'm worried someone's watching me.
First of all, no one is watching you, Noah. But in case someone was watching you, NordVPN provides you with privacy online, leaving no digital footprint by hiding your IP address. It's like wearing an invisibility cloak while you're surfing the web.
Sounds comfy.
So, Manny, I've heard about these VPNs and how they're super slow. How do I make sure my internet is not throttling?
If you want to use a VPN without slowing down your internet, Devin, you're going to want to use NordVPN, because whenever I use it, I don't see any buffering or lagging while I'm streaming my favorite content.
How do I get NordVPN?
Devin, if you or our listeners want to get the best discount off of your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/NST. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan, and there's no risk because Nord has a 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. That's nordvpn.com/NST.
Kara brought up the 9% recycling rate issue, which is kind of the big thing we were talking about with Davis, where only 9% of things got recycled.
Okay.
And she brought this up before I even got there.
Yeah.
You know, I was saving up for the end because I was like, this is gonna get nasty.
And if you want me to explain the 9% of plastic, I would be happy to do so.
Yes.
If you've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So there's this statistic that everyone loves to like run at me with their hands flailing in the air. Only 9% of plastic gets recycled. So I just want to explain that statistic because it's a bit misunderstood. So I think people hear this stat and they think, oh my gosh, of all the plastic I'm putting in my recycling bin, only 9% of it is actually getting recycled. And no, that is not what that number is describing. If of all the plastic we were getting, if we could only recycle 9% of it, that would be a 91% loss for us. And that costs money. Anything that we send to the trash, we pay for. So we would probably say, hey guys, stop sending us plastic because 91% of it we have to pay to send it to a landfill, right? It just makes no sense. So what that number is describing the percentage of all plastics manufactured in a year that United States residents actually put into recycling bins. That's usually what those numbers are describing, is how much we as residents are actually putting into the bin. Once it gets in the bin and comes to a sorting facilities are gonna recover 87 to 95% of the good stuff.
Let's make a really rudimentary example here where the United States only produces 10 water bottles a year. She's saying consumers are only recycling 1 out of the 10 water bottles produced by the United States.
And that's
Yes.
nothing to say of what becomes of that water bottle. Just
Yeah.
that we're only putting 1 in the bin.
And that one, once it gets to the MRF, is getting recycled.
85 to
Yeah.
11%.
So 85% of that one bottle is getting recycled.
So
But
the
yeah.
statistic that we originally thought was an indictment of the recycling industry is, she's arguing, is actually an indictment of human beings.
In a
or
sense.
consumers.
Well, yeah, which is kind of the whole crux of this, because that's also what, to be fair to Davis, he's saying we're taking the guilt on for
Yeah.
who's making the plastic.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
But it is, what I'm learning is everyone's involved in this.
But
if you
how-
put all the plastic in your house, in your apartment,
Yeah. Which is
your
a lot.
home.
Yeah.
into
Microplastics.
the recycling bin, it would get to the center, and most of that, or 87 to 95% of that, would be recycled.
Well, this revelation is bittersweet in the sense that I feel a lot better that what I'm recycling is pretty much ending up getting recycled. But it also means that way fewer people are recycling than I thought.
Well, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the trouble, because, you know, I mentioned how relieved, in a sense, I was, in a sick way, that the recycling doesn't do anything. And now I'm realizing I might need to recycle more than ever.
Yeah.
You know?
It's all
me
on
and my
me.
countrymen. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get to the bottom of this because this it's just like, it's like which way, Western man? It's like this episode could end with me not recycling anymore, or going even harder to
recycling your
recycle.
neighbor's stuff.
Yeah.
Like I might have to confront my landlord about
Well,
the bins.
I'll say this. I'm probably going to have 3 bins now.
Yeah,
I have 2.
I know. I was thinking about this.
I have a garbage bin
Yep.
Yeah.
and a recycling bin.
Yep.
And for a while, I was putting all my recyclables, including paper,
Yep.
In the same
in
bin.
the one bin.
Yeah.
I was
That
like,
was
no
me.
one's
I'm not
sorting
gonna lie.
downstairs.
Yep.
I'm doing my best. I'm putting the stuff here.
Yep.
And then my trash, my real trash, in the trash bin. That's not gonna fly anymore.
I'm
got-
gonna have. Listen, to me.
You're gonna have 4 things.
I have compost. I got trash. I'm gonna have to have my metals, my glass, my plastics, and then I'm gonna have to have another one for my cardboard.
I'm gonna have to buy a storage unit.
You need you're gonna use one of your one
Yeah,
of your
exactly.
bedrooms. You need to get
It's
a
gonna be the garbage
3-bedroom
room.
apartment. One of the rooms
Trash
is
garbage
recycling.
You were saying earlier, New York, it takes all rigid plastics, but there are some places that do not. Does that 9% number also account for those places who are just like, we're not going to sort this?
No, that 9% is its own thing.
That is never attached to recycling centers.
It's not. It's really not. Yeah, it was a study done by the EPA in 2018 where they looked at all materials, looked at how much was manufactured in a year, and then they looked at how much of what was manufactured people put into recycling bins. That's what it's describing. It's the whole country. It's not localized. You can look, sometimes cities, like New York City, you can look at our recycling rates. The city puts out a really great report every 5 years, the waste characterization study, and you can see what percentage of each type of material New Yorkers are putting into the right bin. You know, you look at like a milk jug or a water jug. New Yorkers are putting like over 50%, I think maybe 60% of these into the recycling bin. So we're doing a great job with these. But then you look at something like a soda can, and I think it's only like 30%, which is crazy. That's like the poster child of recyclable. But people are putting 30% of their soda cans in the recycling bin, and the rest they're putting in the trash. That makes me want to pass out. Aluminum is so recyclable, and it's so taxing to mine the raw materials and then manufacture aluminum from raw materials. It's very environmentally taxing.
If, say, 90% of plastic was put into recycling bins and made it to facilities like this, I'm sure there'd be some loss, obviously, but most of that would be recycled and then sold.
So the one other thing you have to consider is what of that is recyclable or not.
Yeah, right.
Now, most of the things that just regular everyday folks, most plastics that we buy that are rigid, most of it's plastic packaging, the more like large substantial stuff, and most of that is recyclable.
Yeah.
But then you get into like little stuff and like cosmetics and toys and like the multi-material stuff, right? So you'd kind of have to look at the percentages of, well, how much of it is recyclable. And then, of the good stuff, if you put it in the right bin, we're going to recover it. It's going to get recycled.
Did you guys happen to ask her about what happens if there's food stuck on the thing? Like I remember we were
matter.
Not
It
an
doesn't
issue.
matter. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's gonna save me about 10 minutes of work when I'm recycling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
just like obviously don't put
don't
a
believe
roast
the whole-
chicken
Yeah,
in your
but they're
packaging,
not throwing out plastic because there's like food residue on
Okay.
it. You know, like
Yeah,
or
yeah.
yogurt or something.
Yeah.
I would say that's more so it
Yeah.
just doesn't stink up your house.
Yeah. Yeah. Do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Not for.
I missed recycling last night, actually. I fucked up on that one.
Wow.
It only comes Mondays. It's kind of inconvenient.
Garfield hates that. What do you see as the solution to get that number higher so you don't need to argue about it anymore?
Yeah, the funny thing about the 9% of plastic statistic is if people put more recyclable plastic in the recycling bin, that percentage would go up. And then more plastic would be recycled. But I think what ends up happening is people hear that statistic, they kind of misunderstand it, they lose faith and hope, and they put less in the bin, and that's going to just lead to that number going down. So look, I'm a recycling educator, so I will tell you to recycle. I will tell you recycling is good. But I will stress also, recycling saves materials, which is great and essential. But if you want to save the planet, we need to reduce and reuse first. That's obvious. Like, no one is trying to skirt around that. But still, recycling has its place. So there are some materials that aren't made for reuse, unfortunately, but can definitely be recycled. So just put them in the recycling bin. Get the recycling numbers up. It's not hurting anything.
I like that. What she just said. So recycling saves material. If we want to save the planet, we got to reduce and reuse first.
Okay.
Put that on a shirt.
We're all familiar with the reuse sentiment there, but reduce meaning just like stop using as many plastics.
Stop buying plastics.
Just making
Well,
sure the
yeah.
Instead of
listeners
buying a plastic
understand.
water bottle when you go to the store,
Hey, have you
have a reusable
have you
water
seen my
bottle.
Martinellis? It's glass.
But just you're still producing that material
I know.
every time you go, and then you throw it out.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
saying I gotta crush an apple and get the juice out of it
Yeah.
into
You
my
put it into your
palms
glass. No,
and
put it
then
into that
sip
glass
out of my
bottle. You
hands.
can reuse that.
You
Yeah,
could-
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. So I asked about basically the argument that we're putting the onus on the individuals and not the corporation, the powers that be.
Yes.
So this is what Kara said.
I absolutely hear that as well. And manufacturing is all single-use culture of convenience. Like we're dug very deeply into that. And I do, want to kind of put a spotlight on that. And I think that manufacturing absolutely could change. We could figure out more ways to integrate reuse, less single-use packaging, yes. But the responsibility is everyone's, Yeah, they're making it, but who's buying it? Someone's buying it as well. So I really look at the responsibility as everyone's.
Look in the mirror.
We need to fix ourselves. If we weren't buying all these plastics, they wouldn't be making
They
it.
wouldn't be making them. It's true. But we're such an on-the-go culture.
Yep.
I can imagine myself, getting like a subscription liter bag of
Martinelli's?
of like Coca-Cola or whatever, and then pouring it into my bag. not a bag, obviously.
It's called a fountain soda.
Here's my
I'm
big.
trying to
big
figure out
bag.
how I would satisfy my Coca-Cola craving.
Drink less Coke.
No, that's not an option.
It's not
Devin.
happening.
But I would say it's everyone's responsibility. Buy less single-use stuff. Commit to reuse and be an example in that. Let others see how possible it is, and others will follow, And yeah, we want to do things to push the needle. We want to push manufacturers to do better and the big companies to do better. One thing we're trying to pass in New York State now is something called extended producer responsibility. It puts more responsibility on producers, right? Okay, you made that. You're also going to help us pay to recycle it and manage it once it becomes waste. So this has existed in Europe and Canada for decades. And a few states, I think 7 states now have passed this legislation, extended producer responsibility. We're trying to get it in New York State, which can encourage manufacturers to design materials that are easier to recycle, because then you pay less, basically, if it's easier to recycle, and you pay more if it's trash, or you pay more if it's difficult to recycle, what have you. So that can kind of move the needle on design.
That's a fair take, I think, as far as everyone could be doing better.
Yes.
Recycle it to your best ability,
yes.
and also obviously point at the big companies who produce it to
Yeah.
maybe do less or do more.
Yeah, and they're doing stuff. So our company, Circular Services, we're a part of Closed Loop Partners, and there's some of those big companies that are investors. They know they're responsible. They know, and they're coming to the table. But yeah, how can we all push circularity forward?
All right, we are going to take a quick break, and when we return, we weigh in with our final takeaways about everything we've learned during this wild ride into the world of recycling. What are you guys' thoughts as far as should we be recycling?
I think initially I felt a little bit sort of like this is all a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel a bit that way because I think recycling is just the way for the oil companies to be like, hey, we're doing our good deed. But I think now I feel a bit like, well, I'm just going to put the stuff in the recycling bin, and then whatever y'all do with it is on y'all. But you can't point. I feel like if I don't recycle, then they can point the finger at me, right, and say, hey, we couldn't have done a better job, saving the earth, but Devin over here is not putting the stuff in the recycling.
Lazy Devin.
Lazy Devin.
Yeah.
But now, if I say whatever, I'm going to take every single thing that can be recycled and put it in the bin, and now it's up to you whether or not it's actually going to be reused.
Yeah.
It takes very little effort on my side of things.
That's generally how I feel.
Especially after talking to Kara, I think we had a lot of assumptions that you got to rinse the thing out and these things can't be together and blah blah blah. And after seeing how it's sorted and stuff, it's like, oh, just literally just put it in the bin, and it will probably be recycled.
Yeah.
So it feels like the bar is much lower to just like do the right thing.
Do your small part, as small as it may be.
And I don't think that's going to solve the problem. I think more so my takeaway from all of this is like, I'm going to try to use less plastic, period.
Yeah. After hearing from Kara, I'm much more interested in the reduce out of that, the catchphrase of reduce, reuse, recycle. Reducing and reusing, I think, is going to make much more of an impact than me kind of like fumbling over what goes in what bag every Monday night. But it is good to know that like most, if not all of what I put into the bags on Monday night will end up getting recycled. I did think beforehand, like, God bless. Whatever happens to this stuff
Yep.
is what happens. And, I'm doing this because my landlord makes me do it, not because I feel like I have to
save the
I'm
world.
saving the world.
Yeah.
And, now there's a lot more context, into where these things are ending up, which is good. But it honestly made me think about like Coke bottles, like, glass Coke bottles. Like maybe I can just fill that up with water and keep using it.
Well, that's going to be tough because they don't have caps.
Well, just like at home.
At home as a glass.
Hey, I'm taking
yeah, sorry, I don't wanna,
reuse to heart.
You go to Manny's house, he's gonna give you
I'll bring
some
my own
glass
bottle,
Coke bottles to drink out of.
Not necessarily
I know what
Coke
you're
bottles, but
saying.
like, I feel like there's a lot of shit I
Sure.
buy and immediately
The
toss out
default
or
is
recycle.
to get rid of it. It's funny because I feel like our parents were reusing a lot of stuff. You
Oh,
go
yeah.
to people's houses,
Oh,
they would
yeah.
have
refilling jugs.
refilling jugs. There'd be plastic. There'd be plastic like butter containers that would turn into like, all right, now this is a container for food.
Yep.
Right before it was so easy to go on
Yeah.
Amazon and be like, I need a container for this thing, or I need a thing for this thing. There was a
true.
lot
Yeah.
more
We
of
should
like,
be looking at the Container Store.
yeah,
I wonder who owns that.
big oil.
Yep.
Connected.
Kind of.
But yeah, I think there is a way that like we should. Well, it's also just like the stuff that we choose to buy.
Yes, right.
Well, people make fun of, the millennial mason jar thing.
Yeah,
They had the right idea.
exactly. This also makes me a little bit like it really upsets me now when I go downstairs and I see that things are not separated correctly in my building. Because I'm like, guys, you can't put the cardboard in with the plastic and the glass. Like now I'm kind of a tyrant for that.
I'm gonna set up a new bin in my home after this.
I think
for the papers and cardboards.
I bug my landlord about a lot of things. I'm adding this to the list. I'm like, you got to label.
They can't wait till you move out.
Really. You got to label 2 of these bins, cardboard.
He's harassing the people
Cardboard
with
and
babies.
paper only.
Yeah. It's getting the initial setup. I think the kind of whatever the crowd psychology of getting people to actually adopt something. It's people study this and it's very difficult to do. And it's going to take a lot. I mean, we're only just now learning we don't need to clean out our plastic that we're recycling thoroughly. How long has that rumor been going around?
Hundreds of
and
years.
Updating the popular knowledge of these things takes a lot of time, especially if people aren't like. I was never particularly interested or invested in this subject, so,
Right.
We need to just make a bunch of TikToks and tweets about it.
Yeah,
I don't even know where that came from.
the cleaning thing.
Yeah.
Your asshole friend who thinks they know everything.
I mean, it was probably some article like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You read it once, you go, oh. And then, I'm not going to check in on updates on that. They need better
it just
campaigning.
spreads from there.
Campaign messaging. They need some, I don't know, celebrities to do something about this.
Get some influencers. Instead of going to Coachella, y'all need to tell us how to recycle correctly.
Think how much recycling is or isn't happening at Coachella. It's disgusting. Hearing the explanations back to back is just interesting as kind of a Rorschach test of depending on who you're talking to or the rest of the conversation, you can hear the same thing and just kind of take a totally different takeaway in some ways. But at the same time, they are kind of saying, hey, we're using way too many plastics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Single, quote unquote, single use or disposable plastics, and this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can choose which path your mind goes from there. But
Yeah.
it was a good lesson as a podcaster and a journalist and as a man.
No such thing.
No Such Thing is a production of Kaleidoscope Content. Our executive producers are Kate Osborne and Mangesh Hattikadur. The show is created by Manny Fidel, Noah Friedman, and Devin Joseph. Theme and credit song by Manny. Mixing by Steve Bone. Thank you to our guest Kara Napolitano from Circular Services. You can visit nosuchthing.show to subscribe to our newsletter for links to research and more, including some video of what we saw at the recycling facility. And lastly, we want to hear from you. We made a survey. You can find a link in the show notes and on our newsletter to get feedback about what you like about our show, what you don't like, and a lot more. If you had other feedback for us or a question, our email is mannynoahdevin@gmail.com. Or you can leave us a voicemail by calling the number in our show notes. If you like this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and a nice review wherever you listen, or just drop a link in your family group chat. I promise they'll enjoy it. Thanks, and we will be back next week.
No such thing.